Up next on this edition of Maximus Aviation's Newsweek in Review. Well, Southwest Airlines just announced the 100-plane Boeing Max order, putting to rest any speculation of a switch to Airbus. I'll have the details and find out why yet another Boeing 787 experienced a problem in the air when an Air New Zealand flight from Auckland to Seoul only made it halfway there before an emergency forced it to turn back. Also, there was some better news for the Dreamliner this week as Boeing announced they have slowly started to deliver new 787s again. Then I'll tell you why the FAA is issuing an airworthiness directive to inspect all CFM LEAP 1A engines due to a problem that could result in dangerous uncontained engine failures. Also, Ryanair is still awaiting the first delivery of the larger Boeing 737-8-200. I'll tell you if and when they will arrive. Well, it's finally the end of the line for the Super Jumbo A380, as the last double-decker jumbo took to the air for the first time for the last time. And finally, I'll introduce you to the 99-year-old World War II vet who got her chance to pilot a real Russian fighter jet. Well, sort of. So get ready for a jam-packed edition of Maximus Aviation's Newsweek in Review. Next on Maximus. Greetings everyone, Maximus here. Welcome back to one of the most popular features here on the channel, the Aviation Newsweek in Review. If you're new to the channel, this is the show where we bring you aviation news stories that aren't long enough to make a full video, but stories I still think you'd like to hear. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And now, the news. In a move that should surprise absolutely no one, on Monday, Southwest Airlines announced the new 100 Boeing Max jet order, putting to rest any rumors they would be running off to Vegas to elope with Airbus anytime soon. Southwest ordered the 150-seat 737 MAX 7 and expects the first 30 to show up next year. Southwest is also converting 70 MAX 8 orders to the smaller model Dash 7. Southwest famously flirted with Airbus's new A320 model, but this was seen largely as a negotiation tactic. However, CEO Gary Kelly said sticking with Boeing was our preference all along. The financial terms of the deal were not announced. The MAX 7 lists for about $99.7 million, but I'm guessing Southwest will only be paying about half that price. The new MAX 7s eventually will replace Southwest's aging fleet of the 143-seat Boeing 737-700 while providing better fuel mileage. Combined with past orders, Boeing is set to build more than 600 MAX 7 and 8 jets for Southwest through 2031. Southwest expects to spend about $5.1 billion on aircraft through 2026. They are also taking options for 155 more jets, both MAX 7s and 8s. Kelly said Monday's announcement came on the 50th anniversary of the airline's agreement with Boeing for their first 3 planes. Well, in what they're calling the flight to nowhere. On Friday, March 19th, 55 passengers in Auckland, New Zealand boarded Flight 75 and Air New Zealand 787 for the roughly 11-hour flight from Auckland to Seoul, Incheon, South Korea. However, according to the Aviation Herald, about halfway through the monotonous flight, at about 40,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean just off the coast of Papua New Guinea, the Dreamliner crew hit the brakes and suddenly decided to turn the plane around and began the 5-hour and 45-minute trek back to Auckland. So considering they were almost exactly at the halfway point between the two countries, why didn't they just finish the flight? Well, apparently 2 of the 3 flight computers stopped being computers and became just pretty cockpit decorations. So with only 1 remaining working computer, the crew made the decision to turn back. But I know you're thinking to yourself, since they were already halfway to their destination, why the heck didn't they just continue on to Incheon? Or better yet, why not just divert to the closest airport? There were plenty around. I would bet that was a popular subject on that flight during the 5 hours and 45 minutes it took to return to Auckland. Well, the most common thought here is that if there was a serious problem with the airplane, the airline would be better prepared to handle it at their home base instead of at a foreign country at an unfamiliar airport. I don't think money factored into the situation since an 11-hour joyride isn't cheap. I imagine all the Air New Zealand executives had a COVID-safe Zoom meeting. And given all the logistics involved and it still being all pandemic-y and all, they decided to just pull an ET and go home. After they returned, Air New Zealand swiftly found them a replacement 787 and whisked the weary passengers to Korea, arriving about 34 hours late. Wow, talk about getting nowhere fast. And speaking of the 787, on Friday, March 27th, Boeing delivered its first Dreamliner in 5 months to United Airlines. United received the new 787-9 on Friday and will take another one on Monday. The first plane will be ferried from Charleston, South Carolina to the carrier's San Francisco hub on Saturday. However, additional deliveries to United haven't been scheduled yet, but United already has 61 Dreamliners and is scheduled to take 10 more this year. Lane Ballard, who heads Boeing's Dreamliner program, said in a memo to employees on Friday, "Today we resume 787 deliveries following several months of rigorous engineering analysis, inspection, and as needed rework to ensure that every airplane we deliver meets all regulatory requirements." Well, the FAA announced this week that they will require inspections of high-pressure turbines on certain CFM LEAP 1A turbofans, which power the Airbus A320NEO series of aircraft. Oh, hang on, you're going to love this word salad. In the proposed directive, the FAA says, and I'm quoting here, "A manufacturing quality escape affecting the high-pressure turbofan cases could result in uncontained engine failures." A manufacturing quality escape. I wonder if that's anything like FUBAR. The FAA said several X-rays of the bleed ports of the high-pressure turbine case showed 148 parts with non-conforming indications, 8 of which were significant enough to impact the life of the HPT case. They added that this issue could result in over-temperature of the high-pressure turbine mid-seal and cause an uncontained rotor failure. The process would require operators to remove and replace the affected high-pressure turbine cases. It notes that CFM in October 2020 issued a related service bulletin specifying a procedure for replacing the affected cases. However, the issue affects only 8 engines in service within the U.S., according to the FAA. CFM says there have been no operational disruptions or unserviceable conditions attributed to this issue. CFM said safety of flight is our #1 priority, and CFM has been proactively engaged with regulators and customers to address the issue. Well, this week, Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary said that the airline expected to receive the first 737 MAX 8200 jet as soon as April 2021. O'Leary said the delivery of his first Boeing 737 MAX 8200 would be postponed until April 2021 because neither the FAA nor the European Union Aviation Safety Agency has certified the MAX 8200 yet. O'Leary disclosed that the airline had hoped to take up to 8 aircraft in April 2021 and 8 aircraft in May of 2021. Initially, Ryanair expected to receive the first special variant of the MAX 8 by March 2021. O'Leary said, "We had hoped to take our first MAX delivery in late March. We think that's now unlikely. It still hasn't been certified. We're hoping that the MAX 8200 will be certified by the FAA sometime later this week, and then by EASA either later this week or early next week. In those circumstances, we would expect to probably take our first MAX delivery in April. Ryanair hopes to have 16 Boeing 737 MAX 8200s by May in time for summer. We're not taking any deliveries in June," O'Leary added. However, the company has no need for these aircraft at the moment as it hopes to operate only at about 80% of the pre-COVID capacity. But O'Leary said, "We are anxious to get the aircraft delivered so we can start training the pilots and the cabin crew can get familiar with them and the customers can enjoy flying them." Ryanair already has 135 of the 197-seat MAX 200 on order and expects to receive its final jet by the end of 2024. According to the Boeing 737 MAX order list, the airline now has a total of 210 jets on order. This week, Airbus released a video of the first flight of the last ever A380 that will ever be built. Nearly 16 years after the world's largest passenger plane first flew, the last Super Jumbo has completed its first flight. It took off from Airbus's Jean-Luc Lagardier plant at Toulouse-Blagnac Airport in southern France. Airbus released a video of the historic occasion on Twitter. They tweeted, "A first flight is always special. The one in this video is even more so, as it was the first flight of the last #A380 to be produced. A day to remember for all #Team Airbus have geeks and A380 lovers." Here's to more decades flying and seeing the iconic giant of the skies. The last A380 number MSN 272 will be delivered to the Emirates Airlines when it's completed. The last first flight of the Super Jumbo A380 comes just 2 years after Airbus announced it would stop producing the double-decker giant. Before we get to our last story, I wanted to shamelessly promote something here on the channel. Last week, I released an amazing video about a hero pilot named Carlos Dardanel. This man, who while blind in one eye due to a shooting and another miraculous landing, was the captain on TACA Flight 110 over New Orleans in 1988 when his brand new 737 experienced a dual-engine failure, but his skill and heroics saved the plane and all on board. But more than that, his entire life story reads like an action-adventure thriller. For some reason, the YouTube algorithms failed to pick up the video like it usually does, and while it's been seen by some of you, most of my subscribers and people who just like to watch the weekly news videos haven't seen it due to YouTube's wonky algorithm. But it happens sometimes. So I just wanted to give the rest of you a taste of what this amazing video has in store for those of you that haven't seen it. Here's a quick trailer for the video, Flying Blind. And if you did see it, I'm sure you won't mind, it's just a short clip.
Mayday, TACA 110, we lost an engine.
I understand you have lost an engine, is that correct?
Both engines, sir. Both engines.
Understand both engines.
I'm the current emergency here. I don't have any engines, okay? Any engines. We glide them down, okay?
I understand you're gliding down, TACA 110, roger.
I don't think that I will make it. So I guess we have to go down. We have to go down.
Give it a look, because I know you're going to enjoy it and I enjoyed making it. I'll leave a link in the description and you can find it on the channel as well. And finally, this week a 99-year-old Russian veteran of the Second World War, Maria Kolotkova, took part in a training session on board a Su-34 flight simulator in an airbase south of Moscow. For an hour and a half, she acted as a navigator to the Russian Air Force pilot Andrei Dachenko. Together, they performed a series of aerobatic maneuvers, combat turns, loops, and barrel rolls. In addition, they simulated mid-air refueling and identified enemy warships and destroyed them. Virtually, of course. During World War II, Kolotkova volunteered to join the Red Army in 1942 and served in an ambulance battalion. Among other important events, she also participated in the Battle of Kursk. Nicknamed the Steel Grandmother, the war veteran already tried parachuting, scuba diving, hang gliding, and hot air ballooning. Earlier in March 2021, she even drove a T-72 battle tank. Kolotkova has been listed in the Russian Book of Records 14 times since 2015. Well, good for her, going strong at 99. I'm half her age and I literally threw my back out last week slicing a loaf of French bread. Oh, how I wish that wasn't a true story. Well, that does it for this edition of Maximus Aviation's News Week in Review. Now it's your turn to let me know what you think. And before you leave, don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and ring that bell. And remember, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, there's Maximus.